Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Moonshot NFT Podcast. I'm your host, Elliott, joined by my wonderful co-host, Matt.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you're listening or watching to this. Watching to this, that doesn't make any sense at all. But yes, good to be here.
As always,
What's
great to have you with us.
Discussion?
Tonight's discussion is, we're going on a bit of a introspective personal journey, Matt, where I thought it would be good for us to share with our wonderful viewers our own personal stories of our big wins, our big falls, and kind of what we're excited about for NFTs in the future, because we've been on quite the journey together to where we are now, of course, talking on the podcast about NFTs. But, of course, something must have sparked that interest initially, and I know for a fact we've both had some interesting journeys, divulging into the world of NFTs. And so, why don't you tell us a little bit about your best or biggest win that really cemented your interest in the world of NFTs?
Of course. I mean, it's I still think we got so lucky because we managed to invest in our Bored Ape 5282.
5282.
We'll never forget the number of our first ape. I'm going to say first ape because I want a second ape. But yeah, so July 2021. Shared a little bit about this before, but I remember just sitting on the sofa, NFT Twitter, seeing all these apes, people talking about apes, people talking about the benefits of owning apes, which was this bathroom, the fact that you could then graffiti in this bathroom, which never really did find out what that was all about. But felt compelled to ape in and paid 3.095 ETH, which was about $6,500 US at the time, for our Bored Ape, which was we felt it was a clean looking ape. It had 5 traits or something, I think, in total. But loved the look of it and just decided, right, this was a good move. And then got incredibly lucky from that point forward because we didn't know what that was going to lead to. It's not like we were doing this with any kind of foresight at all. But, to turn it into quite a short story, got a series of kind of benefits as a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT holder. The first of which was an airdrop, this chemistry club, which was this serum, of which there were 3 types. And we could have got luckier because we could have got the M1, which was like this mega serum, which when your ape drank it effectively, it turned into the craziest looking mutant ape. Or an M2 or an M3. We got an M3, which is kind of the core of the chemistry serums.
The most common.
The most common, exactly. But yeah, so then what that meant was you had to go onto the website and kind of, you could choose whether to mutate your ape or not. Again, at the time, we didn't know what that meant. And I think, on reflection, some people didn't, and they held on to their serum, the Bored Ape Chemistry Club, which was a sort of set of tokens in itself. And because as people mutated their ape by drinking the serum, that kind of burnt that NFT token, which meant it was reducing, the number of them was reducing in quantity. And of course, anything that reduces in quantity can increase in value. So some people did very well by not drinking the serum and turning into or creating a mutant ape. But we did. We joined ours together and created a mutant ape, which we went on to sell for 25 ETH. So effectively, we got it for nothing.
Wow.
So
it got sent to your wallet totally for free.
Yep.
And then you sold it for 25 ETH.
Yeah. Which I can't remember the exact pounds value, but it's got to be somewhere roughly £50,000
at the time
upwards.
Wow, so someone sent you a little digital asset free of charge because you held one of these original apes, and then you were able to sell it for £50,000.
Yeah. Sounds crazy when you say it back. And then And then eventually, so apes did get up to an all-time sort of, the floor price got up to a high of, I think the floor was above 150 ETH at one point. And
300-ish,
yeah,
£300,000
plus, which we were not even thinking about selling, especially because it was around the time, it was in the lead up to the project also airdropping their new sort of NFT collection of Other Deeds, which was a huge collection of 100,000 NFTs that were called Other Side.
Plots of digital land, right?
Yeah, and so we knew that we wanted to keep hold of our ape so that we got our one of them, because we were pretty confident at the time. You know, we'd been involved in the Bored Ape sort of world for long enough at that point to know that it was likely to be a good thing. And so, yeah, some friends and family were a bit thinking we're crazy at that point when we owned this, digital picture.
Having offers in excess of...
offers every day that were coming in for over 100 ETH. So more than £300,000, and we just ignored the offers, which, thinking back, is a bit crazy. But in the end, we sold it because we had a plan, and I think that one of the best things we did, right or wrongly, is we got very clear on what we wanted to happen. Whenever we sort of decided that it was safe enough or the right time to actually do some trading with our NFTs. We got very clear on why we wanted, or what we were going to do if we sold, and therefore we were able to kind of set the sale price based on, well, we knew what we wanted to buy or invest in, and so got crystal clear on that, and in the end decided that we wanted to sell, and we sold for 82 ETH in the end, which might sound like a bit of a failure given that at one point it was up at 150, but timing is everything in the NFT sort of world. And as I said, the reason it was up at 150 was because of this sort of hype and expectation around holders were going to receive these other tokens. And then what tends to happen is the moment you've received them, the value of the original one does just sort of tumble a little bit. And then, of course, the market changes and that sort of stuff anyway. But regardless of that, we knew we did what was right for us, which I think is always the best thing to do, with any kind of investment and financial moves. So we sold for 82, which was, I think about nearly $90,000, I think.
So from 3 to 82 in the space of how many months?
I think I want to say less than 6.
Less than 6 months. So from 6,000 to 90,000 in less than 6 months, with a little dip in the middle where it was actually like nearing 300,000, which is insane.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you were having those sorts of offers fly in?
Well, at the time, we didn't think about it at all because selling was just not an option. Because also, I didn't think that we would ever sell the ape. Certainly not in the next, for like 2 to 3 years, I thought we would hold. I was very sure that it was going to be sort of the thing that got us the house that we've always wanted. And we were just going to hold on for, I had conviction, especially after listening to people talk about apes at VCon.
I was going to say, where did that steep level of conviction come from?
Yeah, well, it was mainly hearing Guy O'Siri talk about the Bored Ape Yacht Club sort of, project as a whole, and his sort of background, which has nothing to do with NFTs, but he's Madonna's manager, which I don't know why that makes him relevant or sort of an authority in the NFT world. Of course, it doesn't really, but hearing him and a few others talk at VCon about the really just how early we are, how few of them there are. There's 10,000, but there's only about 5,000-6,000 holders, and when there is more mainstream adoption of NFTs, the fact that there are so few of these kind of significant blue chip projects made me certain that the price was only going to go one way. And so, yeah, the plan was just to hodl. The plan was just to hold on to it until it got to a point that, was sort of ridiculous to say no to. But also that the timing was right in that, we were very clear. We were always going to use the house, use the money to as a deposit for a house. And we weren't ready for that. It wasn't the right time in the housing market. So it was like, let's just do nothing. Mm-hmm. And so it was easy to ignore those offers, which might seem, crazy for someone listening to this thinking, well, we could have sold it for double what we did sell it for. But it enabled us to invest into the CryptoPunk that we now have and have
still
equal amount of conviction in that.
Whatever X multiple that return is from 3 to 82 in less than 6 months, from $6,000 to $90,000. That is an awesome return nonetheless.
Exactly. So it's just an unbelievable story. And that's forgetting, actually, that we also got airdropped ApeCoin as a holder of Ape, which was around about £60,000 worth of ApeCoin. Mm-hmm. So, So
there's 90K from the Ape plus the 60K of the ApeCoin plus the 50K from the Mutant.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good
going. It was a great sort of 6 to 9 months. I mean, it's insane.
But it's nuts. And now £110,000 of that was sent to you for free just for holding that original Ape.
Yeah.
That is mind-blowing.
Which is mind-blowing. And so it is by far the best thing that could have happened, which we would never have predicted, didn't even know was a possibility. It's just awesome.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
And so, what was it? What was the number of the Ape?
5282.
5282. And I see why it holds a special place in your heart.
Yeah, and hopefully at some point in the future we'll be able to buy it back. That would be a long-term goal at this point. But it's had a significant impact on our lives, and hopefully something that can be repeated.
Absolutely. Well, look, one hell of a story, and goes to show just what sort of experience you can have when you are able to get into a project relatively early on. I mean, at the time, because you could mint those apes when they first came out, you could get one for $200, and you bought yours for $6,000, which already is a huge markup on where it once was.
Yeah.
So you still had to display an element of conviction in picking that up in the first place, and then holding it as it gradually grew and grew and grew. And it was definitely the poster boy of the NFT world at that time. It caught so much traction. A very cool story, which leads into, I suppose, my story of how I first managed to get into NFTs as well, because, well, certainly my biggest whim, because it was also related to the same collection. Not quite as extravagant and as big as yours, unfortunately, but very, very sizable, particularly for myself as well. So how the story goes is the Bored Apes I'd been aware of NFTs for a little while, not really understanding them, beginning to play around and beginning to get a few really, really uber cheap ones that were worth next to nothing. And it was having conversations with yourself who were discovering them at the same time with Gary Vee and his project and their V friends. And then, of course, buying your ape, which is really what stirred a good interest for me, because we all then saw how quickly that ape began to grow in value. And naturally, human nature, when you see something soaring up in price, your natural inclination is to try and get involved and get a piece of that action. And so, as you talked about, when it came to the times where the Yuga Labs, which is the team behind these Bored Apes, when they announced one day that they were dropping these mutants, whereby they would send every holder of one of their Bored Ape NFTs a NFT of a vial of mutant serum. And that is the mutant serum which you could then log into a website and choose to mutate your ape. And so, of course, what this mechanism did, it basically birthed a collection of 20,000 new NFTs known as the Mutant Apes, the Mutant Ape Yacht Club. And they were basically mutated versions of the 10,000 originals. 10,000 were mutated one way and the other 10,000 were mutated the other way. That's why there was the 20,000. And of course, many holders like yourself, when they did get this serum airdropped to them out of thin air and all of a sudden it's worth loads of money on the secondary market, they naturally started to sell their mutants. And so we had got hold of this, me and my good friend Brad, who's also into the NFT world. And it was on a Saturday morning in July 2021, and I'll never forget it because we saw these mutants. We logged onto crypto Twitter and things were going mental. These mutants has dropped. The hype was real, and me and Brad just had a real itch to get involved. And so we looked on OpenSea, and at the time, all these mutants were now flooding the market and were being put up for sale. And the floor price was 7 ETH at the time, which at the time was around $21,000. And so me and Brad very quickly jumped on FaceTime because we knew we had a limited window if we wanted to get in and acquire one of these mutants because of just how quickly and how valuable the other Bored Apes had got. And so we had a little war room chat and said, listen, shall we, both in our boxers, about 10 a.m. in the morning, do you want to go halves on one of these apes? It's going to be, just over $10,000 each. We've not got long to act. We're going to need to do it right now. Are you in? And we both sort of looked at each other, saluted and said, let's go. So we quickly got our funds together, liquidated, I think, all the other crypto that we held, and I was nominated the little treasurer. So Brad sent me his 3.5 ETH. I gathered my 3.5 ETH, and it was off to the marketplace. And so we started browsing these apes, and because classic case of FOMO, really, because when this collection was dropping, most NFT collections, they all have different rarities and so on and so forth. So you could put a lot of time and thought and effort into which one you buy because certain traits and aspects might be more valuable than others. Oh, we didn't have a bloody clue what was going on. These apes were just appearing. They were all looking very different.
And they're also really, really ugly, right?
Yeah, they're just crazy. They're this just, miraculously colourful, like mutated thing with some pretty horrible elements. Yeah. And we just thought, right, just pick one that looks vaguely cool. So we started clicking. I remember it was quite stressful because the volume was going through. All the ones we were trying to buy, we were getting beaten by other people. So the transactions kept failing.
Okay,
we were like,
did you lose any money on transactions?
Luckily, we didn't lose any,
nice.
But 3 or 4 times, just as the transaction was going to go through, it had finished for someone else, and someone else had got it. Yeah. So we started to think, oh my God, the panic, we're not going to get one.
Yep.
But long story short, we settled and we managed to get our transaction go through, and we had acquired a mutant ape for $7 ETH for $21,000. A very strange feeling, sat there in my boxers on a Saturday morning. And it was funny because that day, me and Brad were actually going to a music festival that was in the local area. And so we thought, what a great way to go and celebrate. We've got this ape, happy days. So we met up a few hours later in person once we'd got dressed and ready to go outside. And obviously then the whole morning and afternoon, we could not stop checking the price of this new thing that we just bought. Because that was at that point the most amount of money we've ever spent on anything.
Yeah, it's a stressful way to spend $21,000.
Yeah, it really was. And just totally oblivious. And it felt kind of wrong, but also kind of right. Yeah. And so we were non-stop checking the floor price. And after about 3 hours, it had gone up to about 9 ETH. So we're thinking, bloody hell. We've made $6,000 in about 2 hours. We're goddamn geniuses. So we were celebrating, drinking, getting the beers in, thinking we're, God's gift to man, having a good time. Well, it was a sobering morning when we then woke up with a brutal hangover from this festival and realized that the floor price had now dropped.
Did it change that quickly?
It had dropped, yeah. So it dropped to, I think it was 6 point something. So not far from what we bought it, but we were now technically in the red. So that combined with a bit of anxiety, a little bit of buyer's remorse started to kick in. But like you said, we had such conviction in it that we, our plan was we were just going to hold this for a very long time. I think we mentally agreed a figure that if it ever got to, then we would just sell it. Yeah. And I think it was like 65 grand or something that we said, if it does ever reach this, we're just going to sell it because that's just, happy days. But then basically for the next 3 months, it halved in value. So it dropped down to 3 ETH, and also the price of ETH came down as well. So we were feeling significantly less smart for the next 3 months. Plodding along, kind of forgot about it.
But presumably not thinking during any of that time about selling.
No. The thought of selling it at that time never occurred to us. No, because we were long-term holders. We were going to hold this. We had conviction in the project. Yeah. We know these things, are victims of FOMO and the hype cycle. So the bit price will shoot up and then naturally come back down.
Yeah,
So,
and I think because we've been in that situation with other NFTs as well, and it's important to recognize that it's not a lot. Even if the floor value does drop, if you are not selling, you still haven't lost anything.
Exactly. You've not realised any of those losses. And we also, what did help was because this was, the sister project of the Bored Apes. The Bored Apes were still 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 ETH. And so knowing that we're still tied to that project gave us a real, sense of ease, I suppose. Meant sure we could sleep easy at night because had it been a standalone project, we may have felt slightly different. But because it had that nice proven background, we were much more relaxed. And so then, came the day that things started to pick up again, as they do in the world of NFTs. It was approaching Christmas at this time. So things about November. And the price started to shoot up. And so all of a sudden we found ourselves past our break-even point. All of a sudden we're back in profit. And this was the time when Brad was looking to buy himself a house. And so naturally, having had quite a significant chunk of his money tied up in a highly illiquid picture of a monkey, the thought started to occur that, okay, look, we're in some decent profit now. Maybe now is a good time to sell. Mm-hmm. And so I still was, diamond hands, I want to hold this till I die, pretty much. But of course, we had the 50-50 ownership, so it was only fair. I did try and buy Brad's share, but unfortunately, it was at a time where the price was just increasing so quickly that by the time I was making my offer, the price had gone up and exceeded what I could even afford to buy him out for.
Yeah.
And so we made the deal to sell it. And so we sold it in November for 12 ETH, which at the time was $44,000. So we went
so
from...
you paid 21, sold for 44.
Exactly, in the space of 4 or 5 months. So, and that for us was mental. That was truly
amazing.
we could not believe that we had just engaged with that amount of money for the first time ever in our lives on some random pictures on the internet. Yeah. It was truly surreal. And so, that was definitely my biggest sort of win to date. Of course, it was quite funny because it basically doubled in price a week after we sold it. And what was quite funny is when we bought this, because it was such a big deal when we bought it, I got a picture of this monkey printed, and I've got one in my office, and I bought one for Brad as a housewarming present for his house. And so as it was going up, and just after we'd sold it and it had doubled in value, we were both able to still enjoy the NFT and hold back the tears as that painful reminder of all the money that we lost.
Yeah. But you changed 21,000 into 44.
Exactly. And what other avenues can you do that in, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. So it's all well and good talking about the positives of NFT land. And as much as I wish everything was as good and as fruitful as that, unfortunately it is not. In these sort of markets, they're very risky for all manner of different reasons. So why don't you tell us, Matt, about perhaps a slightly more tough time that you've had in NFT?
Yeah, for sure. I've been very fortunate not to fall into too many traps, but I have done once. I fell for a too good to be true, unfortunately. But so one of the things that you'll get told, and I think we've probably mentioned it before, it's certainly something that everyone recommends within the NFT space, is like, only click on official links, and Discord is the place that most official communications are made within NFT projects. Discord is also the place that a lot of scams happen, but then they're normally through direct messages and clicking on links that have come from other people outside of the official sort of founders or creators of the project. And so always ignored direct messages, never been tempted to click anything that looked even remotely dodgy. But within this small project that had just kicked off, it was an interesting one. Still is an interesting one. It's still one that I hope will sort of be a nice project to be involved with one day. It was one I heard about on a podcast, a Kevin Rose podcast, which was for this collection of NFTs, which gave you access to this new speakeasy style bar that's going to be opened in LA. Which might sound crazy because I live in Oxfordshire, and don't go to LA very often at all. So why on earth would I want an NFT that's going to give me access into?
It's an awesome concept, though. This guy making a members only speakeasy. You can only get in with your NFT, and he's basically selling the NFTs to raise the funds to then basically acquire and build the whole speakeasy in LA.
Exactly, and he's got a background in this sort of thing. And I heard him speak and sort of dug into the projects a little bit and got very sort of enthused and interested in, let's do it. You know, it's I love the idea. And so we minted one. We're one of the first to, but because of the way it was talked about on this podcast where I heard about it in the first place, and then everything I'd read in the meantime, I was reasonably certain that this was going to sell out. And so we minted it quite early, and I thought, really happy to get involved. Got in early. Joined the Discord, the official sort of holders Discord, but then it didn't. Not many got minted straight away, and I thought, this is a bit weird. Anyway, an announcement came through like the following day from the official kind of founder.
Because most Discords have an official announcement channel where it's private and only the owners of the project can post in it. No one can comment, react. No one else can post it. So
exactly.
And anything from there is your source of truth.
They have their username and the kind of, their picture or image. And so it was that person. It was the founder that had kind of announced, and I thought it was genuine. They were announcing that the people, the early kind of OG kind of people that had minted, had supported the project, could then claim another one. And I thought it was to try and get some more movement and reward the people that had gone early, but also get just a bit more enthusiasm and
bit of goodwill and
hype around that. Yeah, exactly. And so I thought, brilliant. Didn't think about it that much and clicked the link and connected our wallet and nothing happened. And I'm like, well, okay, this is weird. But I mean, it wasn't saying transaction failed or anything. I don't think. It was just like, a new one wasn't appearing into my wallet. And so I clicked it again. And then nothing happened again. And I think I did it 3 times, maybe even 4, which I feel really stupid now. But every time I was clicking this, it would seem, it was a scam, and they were taking one NFT out of my wallet.
Oh no! Every
time I clicked it. So we lost 4 NFTs. Thankfully, it was our hot wallet. It wasn't like... so we have a cold wallet, which is stored on a ledger, which means every time you do a transaction, you have to sort of double verify. You have to put a code in, and it slows the whole process down. It's still exactly the same process, but it's an additional verification.
Super secure.
You really have to think, do I want to connect my wallet to this? Whereas on the hot wallet, no external... ledger or drive, you can just do it, very sort of quickly and
hot because it's normally connected to the online world, whereas cold is like totally offline in the physical world.
Yeah, so it's much like it looks like a USB stick. You have to physically connect it into your computer and put a code in to verify the transaction. So and because it was our hot wallet, we don't keep our truly valuable NFTs in there. So thankfully, the ones that got stolen were not incredibly valuable. They're still, valuable enough to be really, really upset and angry with myself for clicking on this link and believing what I thought was genuine, which it turned out not to be. So, financially it equated to probably a few £100. We were we were fortunate in that as soon as the founders, the people behind the project found out what had happened, they did what they could in that they replaced the NFT of theirs that we'd minted.
Because there's got to be an element of responsibility on their side because their Discord got hacked.
Exactly.
And it got posted in their official announcements channel by a user with the same official username as the official guy.
Yes.
So,
yes.
The security on their side had to be let slip, so they definitely must have been inclined to sort that out. Because
and thankfully they did. So like and that was the biggest value aspect of it. We'd paid, I think we'd paid 1 ETH for this NFT that we'd minted. So that would have been like losing. I think ETH at the time would have been 1,500 or somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 pounds. So that would have been. Just would have made it a whole lot worse. But thankfully, they said like anyone that had fallen. Had
fallen victim.
Fallen victim of this scam. So we got that NFT back. We're also very lucky that one of the other people involved in the project had managed to track down another one of the 4 that got stolen and managed to get it back, and actually kind of very generously bought it back and sent it to us. They didn't pay a fortune, but it was still like, I think about 80 quid, 60, 70, 80 quid, something like that. And then they managed, because they saw that whoever had kind of scammed it off us had immediately listed it for sale for not a huge amount of money. And then, they bought it and sent it to us, which was just incredibly generous.
Wow.
And I don't know, you wouldn't expect anyone to do that really. So that gives you a nice positive sense to kind of, there are some really good people in the world, especially in this kind of, in the NFT space. So that was really, really nice. But on reflection, did it look too good to be true? I guess you could argue that. So should have that should have been a red flag. But I sort of, to this day, I still sort of say, well, it was the official Discord, it was the official person, it was in the announcements channel, like it was all.
It could not be more official.
Yeah.
No, I think you're very unlucky there.
So that was definitely. I was so annoyed myself. Like it hurts, even though it wasn't.
Well, I remember coincidentally we were on a Zoom call. That was like 5 minutes after it happened. That we had scheduled to talk about something, and I mean you dealt with it very well. I, to be honest, did not quite know what to say to console you in any manner, but.
Well, because at that point as well, we didn't know we were going to get we didn't know that the fans of the project were going to kind of give us a replacement to the one that we lost. So it felt very painful when we were online with you, because it literally just happened, and I just felt more stupid than anything, because you hear about all these scams. We'd managed pretty much 18 months in this space without falling for one. But I guess, unfortunately, sadly, it's probably inevitable that it's going to happen at some point. It's a helpful lesson, because one thing that we talked about following that was there are no limits to how many wallets you can have, right? So immediately we thought, well, every kind of new thing we get involved with, because you never know, if it's brand new, you don't know whether it's a good people or bad people. And so we thought, well, we'll just transact with a brand new wallet, and then because you can control how much ETH is in there, right? And you can control what NFTs you have in there. And so why do a trade from a wallet? And there's no cost to having, there's no cost per wallet, right? So you could have, tens, hundreds, you have as many as you want. And so just use an empty wallet to do your trades from, because then if it is a bad link or whatever, they've got nothing to steal. So that is sort of lesson learned. That's how we're going to transact moving forward. And it just makes you, I mean, we were just so relieved and grateful that it wasn't our vault, if you like. It wasn't on the ledger, because they could have stole something that was,
super valuable,
way more valuable than that. So
well, a hard lesson
hopefully
learned.
a helpful lesson. Hopefully a helpful lesson for others to hear as well.
Indeed. And I mean, it is a shame. I've talked about it before, but everyone I know who's involved in the world of NFTs has been hacked at some point. Now, I'm looking around for some wood, because I've not been hacked up until this point.
Good.
And so I've just signed my own death wish there, I think.
Do you have any sort of close calls or negative stories to share?
Well,
or you're just going to celebrate the turning 21 grand into 44 grand?
No, absolutely. I wish that was the case, but no, I've lost a substantial amount in my short time in NFT world. Through a whole bunch of different things. I've never been hacked. I've never had a real disaster, but I've just had a few series of, rather than train wrecks, shall we call them mini car crashes. Mm-hmm. And so, first and foremost, I sent a significant chunk of money just to a wrong address.
Right.
And so instantly, I didn't send a test transaction like I should, transferring some stuff from one wallet to another, and had it typed in wrong, and just instantly lost $3,000 to the ether.
Yeah, that's pretty
mystical address. So that was just dumb, and learnt a hard lesson that way. Because I'm always can be a little bit hasty with things. Fancy myself as a little bit tech savvy, and look, I paid the price, wasn't paying attention,
And just then, for the benefit of anyone listening who does not want to fall for the same thing, what's your advice on how to avoid that? Because we're talking about wallet addresses, which I don't know how many characters they are. Maybe
they're
you
very
do,
long.
but they're like 40, 50 characters, mixture of numbers and letters. You could memorize it if you wanted to, but it's unlikely. So, how would you avoid it? Well,
3 tips. Tip number 1, don't ever attempt to type it. If you type it, you deserve to lose your money. Frankly, it's such a long string of crazy characters. And if one is wrong, no one's going to tell you it's wrong. It will just go and be dead forever. So copy and paste. Secondly, then, learn and understand what your address is, so that when you copy and paste it, you can just do a little sense check that it's right. Because if you've added a couple of characters at the end or some at the front, then that can throw it off as well. So just know and learn your address. So I know the first sort of 3 and 4 and the last 4 of my address.
Yeah.
So I know when I copy and paste it that the ends are secure, and then nothing could have really been messed with in the middle.
Yeah.
So just take time. And then the third thing you can do is you can actually get a ENS or an Ethereum naming service domain for your wallet. And so what this does is it's basically an NFT that can turn your private key or the address of your wallet into a lovely little phrase. So my wallet now is botters.eth. So now when I want to send stuff or look up a wallet, I could simply look up botters.eth. So that's very useful. But when you are transacting with anything, what you need to make sure you do is do a little test transaction first. So after that painful lesson, what I always do is send, $5, $10 or whatever first to an address and wait for it to go through before then repeating the full transaction. And that's really the only way you can be truly safe.
And let's add a little bit of unexpected additional value then, because wasn't intended to talk about this, but we need to do what you've done, which is to buy the ENS, and then because we don't need to, but I'd like to, because it's just easier, safer, and actually I want to create some wallets for some family members, like nieces, nephews, that I want to be able to make. We want to be able to, instead of doing birthday presents and Christmas presents and stuff they've already got way too many of, would like to sort of make a few investments which hopefully will pay off over the long term. But each one of those wallets would be much easier if we've purchased their own ENS, and therefore, essentially their wallet is their name. But I haven't done that before, don't know where to go to do that. So maybe in 60 seconds you could tell us where to go to, how
Absolutely.
we do that.
So what all the ENS is, it's like registering a domain on the internet. So if anyone's familiar with that process, where you go to a domain registering website and you basically buy your rights to the domain for a certain period, and you then own it. And so with an ENS, there's 2 ways. So you can buy an existing ENS, and there's quite the market now, as I'm sure you can imagine, for certain ENS domains, like there are for certain web domains.
Yeah.
These are domains that have already been existed and created by someone, so you can buy them on the secondary market. So if you wanted to get matt.eth, for example, you'd be pretty damn sure someone's already got that.
Yes.
So you would have to go and just buy that on OpenSea. But if you wanted to create it, so obviously I created botters.eth, and so you're able to go to the Ethereum naming service website and basically register that domain for the first time. And so what you do is you go through the process, you choose obviously what you want, it will tell you if it's available. So I chose botters.eth. And then you agree to basically own it for a period of time. So I think I got botters.eth for 3 years.
Okay.
And it was like $12. So super, super cheap. And then you go through the process of then you effectively mint it, and it all goes through on a smart contract onto the Ethereum blockchain. And that then gives you the NFT then appears in your wallet as well.
And so because it's then in your wallet, it essentially automatically changes your wallet's name to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I believe so, because that is exactly what it's done for me.
Yeah.
Where I'm not entirely sure is if you had multiple in one wallet.
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure how that actually works out in terms of which one it would choose.
Yeah.
There must be a clear way.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just have one, just that becomes your thing. So now all my transactions from that wallet are just from Botters.eth to Botters.
Yeah, well, and I've sent you some stuff, whenever I've done a transaction with your wallet. It's because we did this a few months back and sent some stuff to your wallet, sent stuff to my brother's wallet, and a few others. And of course, when you're doing that sort of transaction, you also want to make sure you send it to the right place. Mm-hmm. So when I did it with, say, my brother's wallet, for example, I had a split screen. I had his wallet address, which, I mean, I still did the copy and paste. I took your, advice you just shared a minute ago, copied it, because they make that very easy on OpenSea. You can literally just kind of hover over the whatever the wallet name is or just at the top, and it says click to copy. So I did that and then pasted it straight into the address where you paste in where you want to send it to. But I also copied it into like a note document and had one above the other, so I could just quickly check that we weren't sending this to the wrong place. But yours was super easy because as soon as it copied the long wallet address, but then as soon as I pasted it, it does change to Botters.eth. Therefore, I immediately know, send it to the right place. So it is it feels much safer, which is why 100%. I want to do it with.
And it's a good step in the right direction in terms of usability, because we talk about that a lot, but one of the biggest, levels of friction between people actually getting involved in the world of crypto and NFTs is just the usability, because all this stuff is complex. One character wrong and you've lost all your money, nothing you can do about it. Like, that is a pain. And so things like this are beginning to ease that problem, and definitely will become more and more common as we see moving on into the future.
I remember the first time that we talked through my mum and stepdad to doing the whole test transaction. So just sent, I don't know, $10 or whatever it was from one wallet to another, or from the exchange to the wallet. And then it worked, it was fine. But then just because you've done it once, and I was on the other end of the phone, so I was like, okay, just do exactly what you've just done, but it was then with a bigger amount of money. But then for whatever reason, it didn't appear immediately. And of course, and that was just because in the end, we just had to be a bit more patient and wait a little bit longer.
Stressful,
waiting. But it is stressful. And but having that sort of the fact that it would, shorten it to whatever the, like yours, in your case, Botters.eth, it helps.
100%. So no, that is one little error I made. Really, my only other errors have been just acquiring a whole bunch of NFTs that are totally worthless. Which I've got quite the collection of now, to be fair. I've probably got 25, 30 NFTs that didn't cost me loads, but, costed a relative amount, shall we say. $100, $200 each that are now worth like $5.
We've done it too.
Yeah.
It's normal.
But then my where I thought I would get really clever was there was a collection released only a few months ago, to be fair, which in hindsight was just very bad timing as well, with how the overall markets have just collapsed in general because of the wider economic picture, but that's a whole other tangent. But there's a very promising collection coming out. It's called You by BFF, which I believe you got involved in as well.
Yes.
And this was a really exciting project, and hopefully it still is. So I'm hoping that this will go down not as a mistake and actually really successful in the future. But as of right now, it's kind of a big mistake. And so this collection is a 10,000 profile picture collection, but the art is very nice. Pictures of various women. It's all female-centered, and it's a whole initiative driven around, I think, female inclusivity, diversity, and all that sort of good stuff. And it's backed by a whole host of absolute formidable women. Mila Kunis, Randy Zuckerberg, and then about 100 other substantial names of women across a variety of different industries, all back in this project, which is something that I think we can all get behind and, seem like a really good project. And so when this project came out, I was a little bit wiser around the world of NFTs, and I thought I'd try my hand at sneaking myself a good one. Because what's very typical with NFTs is when a collection is released, typically these profile pictures, in the case of the U's, all of them just get dropped on the market initially, or were they all, I can't remember, did they get revealed?
No, I don't think they were.
Or they just appeared all at once? Yeah, so, because sometimes you have collections where all of the profile pictures are not revealed, and then on one day they all of a sudden quickly reveal, and then all of a sudden there's a period where everyone's frantically trying to figure out what traits are rare and which ones aren't, which ones are desirable and which ones aren't. And so you see this great fluctuation in price. And so this is exactly what happened with the U's. All of a sudden, they got released and there was just a flood of them on the marketplace because you had to have a bracelet. That was it. You had to buy the bracelet beforehand. And if you held the bracelet, then you got sent the actual profile picture. And so all of a sudden, all of these bracelet holders were being sent, this 10,000 profile picture just landed on OpenSea. And I was there as it was happening. And so there was this frantic trying to figure out what traits are rare. And let's see if I can quickly put a few offers in and get a rare one before the person who owns it even realizes that it's rare.
Yes.
So you can try and snipe these really rare pieces early on so that you can then, as the collection becomes more established, sell it for a high value.
Yeah.
So that was the plan. Snipe a rare trait, steal it off, get a really good deal off someone, and then try and sell it for a big profit. And so I started doing my due diligence, and it turned out there were a few traits. One, there was skeleton people, and they were just like made out of skeletons. They were very rare. I think there were some gold ones as well, but people were already onto those, so they had already been like eaten up, and they're really expensive. But there was one trait then that was called angel wings, and so these were, as you'd imagine, nice glowing angel wings. And so I think there's only 32 or 26 pieces in the whole collection out of 10,000 with these angel wings. So pretty rare. And I could tell some of them have been bought, but there was quite a few that I think had gone somewhat unnoticed. So I started putting some offers in.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I put in an offer for 1.1 ETH, which was, $3,500 at the time. And then went to bed, hoping that someone would accept my offer on an angel wings. And then I woke up and boom, happy days, someone had. And I was absolutely thrilled. I thought, boom, we've absolutely got ourselves a bargain here. But then, of course, the whole collection crashed. And so I think it was kind of poor timing. I'm hoping it's poor timing just because of the whole market went south. But basically, it just dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. And so I currently have offers for $76 on my super rare angel wings. So that is
It's about 3,000 less than you want the offers to be. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So currently in the red there, but as you said, I haven't sold it, so
No,
not
exactly.
realised any of those losses just yet.
And I have to share your optimism for that project because we did a similar thing. We actually went the opposite route and bought the bracelet, paid over the odds for that. I think 1.75 ETH for the bracelet, knowing that would then insure us a U. But then, the two together, post-reveal and all that sort of stuff, still didn't add up to the 1.75 that we paid for the bracelet in the first place. But I think more, hopefully, it stays to the market than a long-term position. So
exactly,
and I think
optimistic.
Yeah, because also the people behind it, they have such a proven track record in previous, business and that sort of stuff. So still very, very confident.
Exactly, and as we always say, don't bet on the horse, bet on the jockey.
Absolutely, exactly. So
lovely stuff.
We're confident.
Well, so we've explored our highs and lows in the NFT world there, Matt.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about for the future?
The main NFT that we own that excites me currently is came about through some of our trading that we did a few months ago. We managed to buy a gift goat, which is one of Gary V's VFriends collections. And the gift goat is interesting because so for the first 3 years from the launch of the project, these gift goat tokens. The benefit of them is you receive 6 gifts per year. So if you bought one when they originally came out and then held it for 3 years, you were going to get 18 gifts in total. And that's a physical gift with, he added on an NFT accompanying each one as well. And so we didn't buy one initially, so we missed out on the first 3 gifts. Or 2 or 3 gifts, and then we've received the next 3, which have been pretty cool. But there's been a difference in sort of expectations of the way Gary V sold this and sort of the kind of gifts he suggested might be dropped to holders to gift goat holders at the very start. a difference between what he's actually sent and what people were expecting. And so he's taken a bit of stick on that. And so even though like we haven't been too disappointed, but we did pay a hefty sum for this GiftGoat NFT. And so at the moment we're sort of getting close to gift number 8 being sent out, and so we have no idea what it's going to be. We have no idea what the next 10 gifts are going to be.
It just literally arrives at your.
It just you get an email and that says right, gift number 8 is. And they tell you what the physical is and what the NFT is. The NFT gets dropped into your wallet, and then the physical. You wait a while because they take a while to send out, but there's 555 GiftGoat tokens, so 555 people receive whatever it is, I'm just excited about it at the moment because he's regularly saying the GiftGoats are what he's working on, because I think he's taken the feedback on board, and he's conscious of trying to rebuild some sort of enthusiasm and meet some expectations. So it intrigues me at the moment, but also excites me because it's one of the NFTs in our collection that there's stuff happening. Mm-hmm. Certainly, over the next 2 years still, but we don't know what that stuff is. You know, mm-hmm. the majority of our other NFTs, we're just
What was the best gift that you got from the goat so far?
So my favorite so far is they did a collaboration with Johnny Walker. Nice. And so it's a unique bottle with 2 tumblers and coasters. That's a VeeFriends Johnny Walker blue collaboration, which we received in this lovely presentation box. It really is cool. Nice. And we haven't touched it yet, and I don't think we will, because I think it will, some people will drink it, obviously, and there were only 555 made. So mm-hmm. if we hold on, who knows? It may increase in value, but or we may just, think, what the hell, one day and drink it and enjoy the whiskey. But either way, the glasses are nice, the bottles are made, lovely. It's just been really well done. And so that feels pretty exclusive. That was my favorite so far. And we already know, because they announced it at VCon 2022, that one of the collaborating artists for the NFT, for one of the NFTs and the remaining gifts is Beeple. So that, you can't himself. Not be excited by that, right? Mm-hmm. So Beeple is one of the most famous digital artists who kind of brought the NFT world to the mainstream media when when Christie's sold one of his art pieces for $69 million. It's exciting to think what that might be. Not just what it might be worth, but we will own, a Beeple NFT, along with 555 other people. But I'm sure that's going to be pretty cool. Even though his work can be kind of strange, if you look at some of his stuff. But it's unique, and he's. We haven't met him, but we've seen him, and he seems like a pretty fun, very nice bloke as well. So
he does seem like
excited
a very cool
by
guy.
that. Yeah, really excited by that. So that is the one at the moment. As well as just being very, 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 very sort of grateful that we've managed to get CryptoPunk. That one just makes us smile often anyway. Mm-hmm. But I'd say GiftGoat is the space that in the short to medium term excited about, and looking forward to seeing what happens. What about you?
Well, for me, there's a little project known as the Moonbirds, which a lot of moon in my life recently. And so, long story short, Moonbirds is a project I'm very excited about. It's one that I've recently acquired in the last week, actually, after really spending quite a lot of time deliberating and creating my little thesis as to why I think this project will just be very useful and cool to be a part of, and also hopefully generate a positive return on investment in the future. So I've acquired he's a great beautiful little bird. He's a little pixelated owl with some wonderful glasses on. He's very sweet. We've bonded very well so far. But this is a project by a man called Kevin Rose, who's the main man behind it. And so he is a serial entrepreneur, Silicon Valley, born and raised, founded a website called Dig, which did very well. And now he's started off and really has risen to the top of, I'd say, people in the NFT space because of what he's been doing. And it all started with his first project, which was called The Proof Collective. And this was a 1,000 piece members club NFT. So it's like a little members card. And holding this gets you access to the Proof community. And the Proof community is designed to be basically the very hardcore NFT enthusiasts, artists, and those sorts of people. And that has just done astonishingly well. I mean, to get into the Proof community, I know the floor at one point was over 100.
It was 100 plus, wasn't
It's
it,
hovering around 50, 60 now, so very, very expensive and exclusive. And if you were in the Proof collective, then the Proof team revealed their Moonbirds collection, which was their sort of 10,000 profile pic collection of these cool looking little birds. And so they dropped a while ago now, and I think, I can't actually remember the entire mechanism, but I think each Proof collective holder could get 2.
Correct.
And then there was a few that went on public sale as well. And I think there were 2 each.
They're initially 2 or 2.5.
2 or 2.5.
But I think because there was such demand for them in the first place, because the Proof collective had done so well, they had to do it through allow lists and stuff like that. So you had to kind of either get lucky or work hard to even get the opportunity to buy one in the first place. And I think even at that point, 2.5 ETH was like close to sort of 10 grand. I think it was a lot of money. So,
yeah, because that was right in the peak of the bubble as well. Really,
you had to be pretty certain it was a good move, which it turned out to be a very good move.
Yeah, because I mean that had an explosive rocket up. Because I mean they minted for 2.5, and within like a day they were worth like 27, 28 ETH.
Yeah, it was
shot
crazy.
up to like over 100 grand, which was just absolutely mental. So they had this astronomical rise, and so when that happened, I was like, "That's really cool. Another cool NFT project I'll never be involved with," because now they're just gone up to like silly prices. But I've been keeping, on top of what the Proof guys are doing. They've got a very good podcast, called Proof, where Kevin Rose, the main guy, sits down with various people on his team, but also lots of influential artists and individuals in the space, which is very, very enlightening and has been a big source of inspiration and information for us. But they're also just very clear and communicative about who they are and what they're building, which is why this definitely has appealed to me so much. And so long story short, whole market's crashing. All these big NFT prices are going down and down and down. And there was a little bit of drama with the Moonbirds, where it was all around the licensing of the NFT, because there's a big thing in NFTs where certain projects, I think Bored Ape's kind of pioneered it, that when you own a Bored Ape, you actually own the intellectual property of that ape. So you can now go and use that ape that you bought to, create a business. And as a result, many people have. There's, Bored Ape beer. There's a restaurant in the US and all manner of different things where people use their Bored Ape as like the IP. And so I believe that was the case for Moonbirds. But then what happened was Kevin Rose and the Proof team made the decision to switch to a Creative Commons license, which all of a sudden means that basically anyone can use your Moonbird. So you stripped away those rights, and that ruffled a few feathers the way that was communicated, and so that caused a pretty sharp drop in the price of these Moonbirds. And so all this time I'm sort of watching in the background, eyeing up this drop, thinking, great, hopefully it will just keep going and I'll maybe have a slither of a chance to get in one day. And then lo and behold, last week, that moment finally came along. And so it really came about after seeing Proof do their little show announcement where they go into exactly what they're building, the sort of roadmap and the outlook for the next few months ahead. It's like when Apple put on those conferences and show you all the new features in their devices. And so I watched that and I was just so hyped for everything they delivered that I thought, you know what, now or never, I've got a bit of conviction, let's do this. And so I've joined the Moonbirds crew. And so now what Moonbirds did is they introduced a very innovative mechanic to the NFT called nesting, because you're a bird. And so what you can do is you can nest your bird, which basically means you just sign, it's a little smart contract. And when you nest the bird, all that does is basically mean you can no longer list it on any exchanges. And so obviously that reduces the supply of these birds that are ever available for sale, thus reducing the supply. And if the demand stays the same, should drive the price up. But as a holder, you get rewarded for nesting your bird. And so my little bird is now nesting. It's going to be quite a few, many, many months before I get to my next nesting reward. But hopefully I'll start to get some in real life things as well. But yeah, thoroughly excited to see how that transcends. I just love all this crazy stuff that's happening with these cute little birds, to be honest. It's, again, you kind of have to just sit back and pinch yourself every now and then that all this stuff is actually happening.
Yeah, because also, like, that was a big decision though as well. Like, so you made a collection offer, right? Do you want to briefly explain how that works, and then?
Yeah, so the Moonbirds have been dropping, and last week the floor price was 10 ETH, and what you're able to do on OpenSea now is instead of just buying the floor one, which is 10 ETH, or previously you could make offers on any of the NFTs. So I could go and offer people, 9.5 or even more if it was a rare one. And I could do that individually. But there's a great feature now called a collection offer. And that basically means I can put down a blanket offer on any piece in the collection. And so I put down an offer for 9.5 ETH on any Moonbird. And I then actually went out for a friend's birthday. And so the whole night I was slightly checking my phone, waiting to see if any of these Moonbirds holders had accepted my offer. Many hours.
So the floor at the time when you put the floor was 10, you offered 9.5.
I offered
so
9.5.
Reasonably confident someone was going. And the ETH at the time,
a little low ball,
1,500 quid.
Yeah, so it was like $17,000 floor, and I was coming in at like just beneath that.
Yeah, so like you're quietly confident that someone would accept because we accepted an offer when we sold the ape. And why did we do that? Because it's then on our terms. We knew what we wanted to do with the money. Yes, it would have been nice to sell it for what we'd listed it for, but the difference wasn't a huge amount. It's like when you're trying to trade anything or sell something on eBay. People may have listed it for 100 quid, and then someone's put an offer in of like 90 or whatever, and if it's enough for what you want and it enables you to make your next move, which it was in our case, then it's worth it because it means you can just crack on, get it done. And so, yeah, you're quietly confident that someone was going to...
And I was quietly confident because it still was like felt a bit insane, and I was very nervous doing it. It's like a ridiculous amount of money. And again, you always have that thought, like, why am I doing this? It's mental. For a little picture of a Moonbird.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm definitely not just going to buy it. I'm going to put in a lowball offer because that will make me feel a bit better about myself and what I'm going to do.
Because, of course, it means the moment, if the floor stays at 10 and you've managed to buy one at 9.5, you could, if you wanted to, immediately list it for 10. Yours is in the floor. You're going to make 0.5 ETH. I mean, you're probably not because you've got some fees involved. No. But it's still psychologically...
It's a little cushion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was the thesis. And I thought it would be on my side here because we're in a time because of the market crash, the whole activity, there's not that many buyers and sellers as there once was. And so actually my offer was kind of appealing because all the Moonbirds listed around the floor. No one's really buying them at the moment. Right. So it was really slow. So I thought, you know what? I think I've got a chance here. So lo and behold, was out and about, checking my phone all evening, seeing if it went through. And then it wasn't until I was rather drunk after going to a wine bar in the taxi on the way home that I checked, and boom, I had this wonderful little Moonbird that had gone through. And so got home, went to bed, and then the next morning got him up and got him nested. So he started getting the rewards. And we'll see where we go from there. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have buyer's remorse the next day when I woke up and was just like, God,
9.5 less ETH in your wallet and a Moonbird.
Yeah. But then I had to reiterate, I spent a lot of time deliberating it. It wasn't a willy-nilly decision. I've got a very strong thesis as to why I think that will be a good decision. Of course, it could be totally wrong. But as it stands, I'm very confident and comfortable with that decision. But yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. So fingers crossed it plays out. And that's obviously, I'm now heavily invested and excited for it. And yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, just keep watching that roundup of the future-proof, that sort of 15, 16-minute video that they shared on YouTube, which you can't help but get excited about their whole project if you watch that, because they've got some plans for 2023, and I'd say if you watch that every week or just when you're feeling
when I'm feeling down,
that excitement will come back and you'll realize you've done the right thing.
Love it. Well, that seems like a great place to round it off. So Matt, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Make sure to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or, of course, give this a like, share it with your friends. But as always, take it easy and to the moon.